Hello, welcome to Live Interactive English. I am Mike, and welcome also to De-extinction Part 2, where we're looking at this very interesting scientific and also ethical question of, well, it's right there in our title. Should we bring species back from the dead? In other words, should we do what the scientists in those Jurassic Park movies are always trying to do? Bring animals that are extinct, that are no longer here on Earth. Should we bring them back from the dead? Should we reintroduce them into nature? Now, of course, because of those movies, when this question is asked, we often think of dinosaurs, and you think of them as being very big and having lots of teeth and eating lots of things, and maybe that could include you or someone you know and like. And that would be a bad thing, right? And yesterday, we learned about the Tasmanian tiger. Now, not as scary and dangerous as a pack of crazed wild dinosaurs, but still it's kind of a scary looking animal with the big teeth and the whole Tasmanian tiger name. But what about some other animals? What about animals that could go extinct? Because of course we don't always have to think of this science as being something we would use for animals that have gone extinct, but maybe in the future. A lot of us have heard of the dangers that are, coming around the polar bear as it's losing habitat in the north. Maybe some of the tigers of the world, the Siberian tiger, the Bengal tiger, they are under a lot of pressure. There aren't a lot of them out there in nature. And of course, the white rhinoceros, I think, basically has disappeared from nature in Africa. There are a few living in a zoo somewhere, but that's about it. Here in Taiwan, oh, the Formosan bear. They're so cute. There aren't many of them left, a few hundred probably. Maybe in the future, we'd like to bring them back. So this is something that really could be useful, not only now and not always about the sort of things we see in movies, but in the future about the sorts of animals we would really miss if they did eventually go extinct. It's an interesting question. We're going to have more about it right now.
De-extinction is not a perfect solution, however. For one thing, it won't change the human behaviors that cause animals to become extinct in the first place. If we continue polluting and destroying the environment, animals will continue to die out. The only way we can truly protect them is by changing our habits. Bringing extinct species back to life won't magically make us respect nature more.
All right, so yesterday we kind of looked at the science of de-extinction. It is possible, although I think they haven't really tried it yet. And we also looked at some of the positives, like reintroducing wolves to Yellowstone Park. They did that 30 years ago, and that worked out fairly well. So we might be able to do it using the science, and of course, using this whole idea of reintroducing animals. It could work. However, it's not all good news. The article says, de-extinction is not a perfect solution. However, that's very true. These animals went extinct from nature for a reason, so just introducing them, reintroducing them won't be a perfect solution, and it won't bring its own problems. A solution is an answer to a problem. When you solve a problem, you get a solution. It could be a number, like in a math problem. It could be the answer to who killed the colonel. If you're reading a murder mystery, what's the solution? What's the answer? And anytime you have a question or a puzzle or a mystery of some kind, if you come up with the answer, that is your solution. Billions of dollars are being spent on finding a solution to climate change. There's something else that science needs to give us a solution to, and in fact, finding a solution to climate change is much more important than finding a solution to we don't have any more Tasmanian tigers. This is true. Back to the article. For one thing, it says it won't change the human behaviors that cause animals to become extinct in the first place. If we continue polluting and destroying the environment, animals will continue to die out. An animal might disappear because of pollution and a loss of habitat. Well, the pollution hasn't gotten any better, and the habitat has only probably gotten smaller in that time. So in other words, these problems still exist. And polluting the earth is one of the biggest dangers, not only to animals, but also to us. When you pollute something, you introduce a foreign outside substance, material, or element into an environment, and you make it dirty and you damage it. We pollute the earth by dumping garbage on the land, by putting chemicals into the water, and by pumping smoke out into the sky. That, of course, dirties up the land, the water, the air that we need to live, and that is to pollute. For example, the company is charged with polluting the river. Oh, that evil company dumped a bunch of chemicals into a river or lake or something, and that has done a lot of damage. They are polluting the environment. And of course, when we pollute the environment, we will eventually destroy the environment. This verb to destroy means basically to damage so that it's basically useless. If you kill a human being or an animal, you destroy a building or an environment or an area of the land. You drop bombs on it, an earthquake knocks down all the buildings, a flood comes along and basically makes everyone homeless. You have destroyed that place. It's completely damaged, and so it cannot be used any longer. For example, the fire destroyed much of the building. It was burned so badly, the building will have to be torn down and never used again. We read, the only way we can truly protect them is by changing our habits. Yeah, bringing the species back will be great, but if we don't do things differently to the first time when that animal went extinct, well, surprise, surprise, it will go extinct again. So not just introducing it, reintroducing it, but changing the environment, changing the situation will be just as important for the future success of these animals. Bringing extinct species back to life won't magically make us respect nature more. No, it will be a very great scientific accomplishment, but it won't change the situation if we're not doing all of the other right things. And respecting the environment is one of the most important things we all need to do. To respect something is to basically understand how important it is and to sort of protect it because it is important, because it is valuable, because it is something we don't want to lose. You want people to respect you and consider you to be a good person, and you want to respect other people as long as they don't try to hurt you or something. You should show them respect. You should respect them. We can use it both as a verb and a noun because those people are important, and that importance needs to be recognized. For example, what is the best way to respect nature? Well, not polluting. That's probably a good place to start. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll be back with more about the idea of de-extinction.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的课文读到，去灭绝有可能对环境产生正面的影响，就像1995年狼被重新引进了黄石公园，鹿跟植物的数量就因而重新获得平衡。不过，去灭绝并不是一个完美的解决方法。一方面它并不会改变起初导致动物灭绝的这些人类行为。如果我们继续污染、破坏环境，动物还是会持续灭绝啊。真正能保护它们唯一的方法，就是要改变我们的习惯，让灭绝物种复活呢，并不会突然就很神奇的让人们更加尊重自然，对吧？好，那么单字 solution 它就表示解决办法、解决方案。pollute 这个动词则表示污染、弄脏。它的名词是 pollution， 就是指污染。再看到 destroy 这个动词有摧毁毁坏的意思。那么 respect 在文中当动词，它也可以当名词，就是指尊敬、尊重。好，那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 in the first place 的不同意思。那第一种意思呢，可以表达起初、一开始。当这个意思的时候呢，常常摆在句尾，用来表达最初的情况，像是Why didn't you tell me the truth in the first place? 为什么你一开始不跟我说实话呢？好，那第二个意思是表达首先第一，那常常会摆在句首，用来列举事项，或是用来强调表示说首要的是怎么样怎么样。好，举例来说 ，He turned down the job offer for several reasons. In the first place, the salary was too low. 他拒绝那个工作机会有很多原因。首先，薪水太低了。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
Also, the money that we spend on de-extinction would probably be better spent on other conservation projects. Or, as those against de-extinction would put it, it's better to spend money on the living rather than the dead. The reason for this is that, compared to other efforts, de-extinction is extremely expensive. In fact, for the cost of bringing one extinct species back to life, traditional conservation efforts could save up to 8 threatened ones. The power of science is amazing, but it might be time for us to stop and decide whether de-extinction is something we really want to achieve. With the technology we currently have, the question is no longer can we, but should we?
All right, we are back looking at some of the more complicated questions that surround the idea of bringing extinct species back to life, or de-extinction. Earlier, we heard that it might be great as a scientific exercise to bring an animal back from the dead, as it were, but would that be really good for the animal? If we put it back into an environment where it went extinct, wouldn't we expect it to just kind of go extinct again? Would this be a good thing to do for the animal? Well, that's a good question. And here's another thing. This stuff is expensive. Editing the genetic material, doing this kind of science would not be a simple thing to do. And of course, it would take a lot of time and money, as the article says. Also, the money that we spend on de-extinction would probably be better spent on other conservation projects. Or, it says, as those against de-extinction would put it, it's better to spend money on the living rather than the dead. Yeah, why aren't we doing more science to try to protect animals that are not extinct but endangered but haven't disappeared, rather than trying to bring back the ones that have disappeared? Isn't it a better way to spend our time and money? The reason for this is that, compared to other efforts, de-extinction is extremely expensive. Yeah, trying to get a few animals to produce more babies or something like that, trying to fix the environment so that they're better protected, that would be a lot cheaper and a lot easier than trying to sort of use this scientific magic to bring animals back to life. All of this, though, would be extremely difficult and could be extremely expensive too. Extremely just means very, very. We're kind of stressing how much. So you can be hot, you can be very hot, or you can be extremely hot, which means you are very, very, very hot. So it's just another way of adding more emphasis to something so people can understand how much it is happening or it is going on. For example, Hannah is extremely happy that you can come to her wedding. She's not just like, oh yeah, cool. She's like, oh, that's great, I'm so happy. She's extremely happy. Calm down, Hannah. Back to the article. In fact, it says for the cost of bringing one extinct species back to life, traditional conservation efforts could save up to 8 threatened ones. So there you go. For every one Tasmanian tiger that we can bring back to life, and all the time and money it would cost to do that, we could save polar bears, we could save manatees, we could save Siberian tigers, white rhinos, we could save a lot of other animals. So this is this really how we want to spend our time, energy, and money? Because there are a lot of threatened animals out there. If something is threatened, it is in some kind of danger. All right, you can threaten someone by saying, ooh, I'm gonna get you for what you did to me. We're not really talking about it here in this way. In a scientific way, when we're talking about the environment, there are endangered animals, which means they're really in trouble. There might only be 100 of them out there in nature. And then there are threatened animals, which I believe is slightly less in danger, but scientists are definitely worried about these types of animals. So anything that's threatened or endangered obviously needs a lot of help and protection from people. Here's an example. We could say new policies were made to help protect the threatened fish in the area, things like salmon and trout. those bigger fish are often threatened because of pollution, overfishing, stuff like that. Back to the article. The power of science is amazing, we can all agree. But it might be time for us to stop and decide whether de-extinction is something we really want to achieve. Yeah, we can achieve it, but do we really want to achieve it? That's a tough question. With the technology we currently have, the question is no longer can we, but should we? This is always a very difficult question for scientists. Yes, you can do something in the lab, you can create this new thing, but should you? Would it be a good idea for people in the long run? That's a hard question to answer. All right, let's look at our what do you think question, which hopefully is an easier question to answer. Should we bring back the Tasmanian tiger? Why or why not? Well, I think we should bring back the Tasmanian tiger because I'd like to see one. That's not a good answer. It's not a good reason to bring it back, but at least I'm being honest. I think it would be kind of cool to see one of them. And we only have old photos, but to bring it back forever, I don't know. And would it be kind to the tiger to bring it back for just a short time so people can see it and then, I don't think so. All right, guys, what do you think about this difficult question? It's certainly interesting, and in the world we live in, it might be something we start to think of more and more seriously in the future. All right, bye-bye, take care.
刚刚说到人类的行为不改变，动物还是会持续灭绝。那其实还有另外一件事情要考虑，就是去灭绝其实是非常昂贵的，还不如把这些钱花在其他保育专案上面。事实上呢，用来让一种灭绝物种复活的那些花费呢，在传统的保育努力上，可以挽救多达8种濒危的物种。说到濒危物种，麦克老师除了提到北极熊，他还提到 manatee 就是海牛。Siberian tiger 就是西伯利亚虎，还有 white rhino 就是白犀，其中这个 rhino 也就是 rhinoceros 的简称，也就是犀牛。好，那我们再来看单字 extremely， 它是副词，表示极其、非常。Threatened 这个形容词表示濒危的、受到威胁的。那例句提到某地区濒危的鱼类，这时候 Mike 老师有提到 salmon 就是鲑鱼，还有 trout 则是鳟鱼。课文最后写到说，科学的力量是惊人的，但也许是时候让我们停下来，决定去灭绝是否是我们真正想要实现的事。这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 whether 引导名词子句的用法。Whether 表示是否点点点，它可以引导名词子句去当主词啊、受词或是补语用。那么 whether 之后常常会接 or not。那或者是你也可以把 or not 移到名词子句的后面，也就是说啊 ，whether 引导名词子句，我们可以把它写作 whether 主词加动词 or not， 或者是 whether or not 主词加动词，或者是你还可以省略 or not， 只用 whether 主词加动词。我们看两个例句 ：I wonder whether he still loves me。我想知道他是否还爱着我。The question is whether we have enough time or not。问题就在于我们是否有足够的时间。好，那以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
De-extinction is not a perfect solution, however. For one thing, it won't change the human behaviors that cause animals to become extinct in the first place. If we continue polluting and destroying the environment, animals will continue to die out. The only way we can truly protect them is by changing our habits. Bringing extinct species back to life won't magically make us respect nature more. Also, the money that we spend on de-extinction would probably be better spent on other conservation projects. Or, as those against de-extinction would put it, it's better to spend money on the living rather than the dead. The reason for this is that, compared to other efforts, de-extinction is extremely expensive. In fact, for the cost of bringing one extinct species back to life, traditional conservation efforts could save up to 8 threatened ones. The power of science is amazing, but it might be time for us to stop and decide whether de-extinction is something we really want to achieve. With the technology we currently have, the question is no longer can we, but should we?
Weiwu Mimi Village is situated near Weiwu MRT station. Weiwu Village used to be an old public housing area. It has since become the largest street art community in Taiwan. The lively giant murals are made by artists from around the world. The huge 3D bookcase mural was made by local artist Bamboo Yang. It is a very popular photography and check-in location. Even the utility poles and electrical boxes are creatively painted. Visitors can scan a QR code and download a guide map. You can check out the location, introduction, and creator of each artwork. Weiwu Mimi Village is full of surprises for you to explore.
See you next time!